abogada.
Lunes, mi favorito día de la semana, ¿es correcto?
Ujú,
It's
exacto.
my favorite day of the week because I've never had this week before and I can't wait to see what the week is going to hold.
Así es, nunca es es la primera vez que tenemos una semana, la semana 16 del mes 2023. Entonces, nunca sabemos qué va a traer la semana, es una oportunidad única en la vida, así que vamos a hacer lo mejor de ella.
Yes. Okay. So today I want to talk about VAWA because it's the month of VAWA. Every morning coffee we're having, we're talking about VAWA because it's my favorite.
Así es, entonces ya saben, ya hemos estado platicando un poquito sobre el VAWA, saben que es el tema del mes, entonces vamos a estar hablando de algo súper, súper interesante.
But I want to talk to you about it in the context of an I-751. So this is super important for people who they've already got what's called a conditional green card. They've already gotten a green card, but it was for only 2 years based on their marriage to an American or a lawful permanent resident, usually an American. But in that 2 years, the marriage is perhaps not going to last. They're realizing what happens next because my marriage is not working.
Así es, entonces hoy vamos a estar hablando de un tema súper, súper interesante, es la forma I-751 y es cuando las personas han obtenido una residencia basada en el matrimonio con un residente o un ciudadano, pero no es una green card de 10 años, no es una residencia de 10 años, es una residencia condicional de 2 años y tal vez en esos 2 años el matrimonio no ha ido bien, tal vez algo pasó y no está yendo bien. Hoy vamos a hablar de qué sucede en esas ocasiones.
So if this applies to you or someone that you know, then the benefit of knowing that if I've experienced extreme cruelty from my spouse during the marriage or even after we've separated or perhaps even after we've divorced, and I know that my green card is not, I didn't get a 10-year green card, I only got a 2-year. The benefit is you don't have to wait until the 90 days before your 2 years expires. You can go ahead and file your I-751 now, which is going to fast track you getting your 10-year green card, assuming your I-751 is approved, which means then you can later become, if you want, a US citizen sooner. So it's not, of course, you don't want to have experienced extreme cruelty from your spouse, but if you have, then there's no reason to wait and your spouse is not involved in the process. So I don't care what nonsense he or she is saying to you about, I'm not going to petition for you and you're going to get deported and I'm going to call the government on you and all this other stuff that I know spouses say when they're being ugly. If any of that is happening to you, you can just let that go in one ear and out the other because New Frontier is here for you.
Así es, entonces, para las que no saben mucho, cuando estás haciendo esta forma I-751, tienes que demostrar ciertas cosas y si esta situación está pasando en casa, si este matrimonio no va a durar, queremos que deseches toda esa información que tu pareja te puede estar diciendo, desafortunadamente lo hemos visto, no voy a continuar el proceso, le voy a hablar de inmigración, te voy a quitar tu residencia. Queremos que entre por un oído y salga por el otro, porque Nueva Frontera está aquí para ayudarte. Si tal vez experimentaste crueldad extrema, no sabes qué sucedió, no hay necesidad de esperar todo este tiempo, puedes hacer la petición, hacerla más rápida, ponerla expedita. No tienes que esperar esos 90 días. Queremos ayudarte con eso porque sabemos que puedes estar en una situación en la que tienes miedo por la residencia que acabas de adquirir.
Yes, and there may be situations where, you don't know if your marriage is going to last. I mean, I remember that. I think that happens at least once a year, if we're being honest. Relationships are not actually a guarantee for a lifetime. I've been married for 17 years, and I think that we all regularly hit rough patches, and you don't know what the relationship's going to look like in the future. And my husband is my best friend. He's the dad of my 4 kids. Like, he's always going to be part of my life. Sometimes marriage is very, very complicated. So if you're going through a season right now where you're like, I don't know if maybe I'm experiencing extreme cruelty, maybe I'm not, maybe I still want to be married to this person, but I don't know if he or she wants to be married to me. And it just gets so stressful when it's against the backdrop of, and my immigration status hangs in the balance. So what I want to share with you is that if you're in one of those seasons, number one, don't make any decisions when you're upset, right? Like any of us, it's easy to say, it's a lot harder to do, but don't make any decisions while you're upset. Sometimes it's just a season. It's usually just a season. I have been through so many of those, and I've always been grateful that I didn't quit when I was tired. You know, it's if you quit when you're tired, you look back and you have regrets. So that's the number one tip if you're kind of in this situation.
Así es, y si tú te encuentras en una temporada, o no estamos diciendo que tu matrimonio vaya a terminar, ¿no? Todas las personas casadas pueden decir que una vez al año piensan, quiero estar casada con esta persona. Tal vez estás en una de esas temporadas, tal vez no sabes si tu matrimonio va a continuar, tal vez no sabes si esa persona quiere estar contigo. Y hay todas estas preguntas que son muy, muy complejas porque el matrimonio es complejo. Si además a eso le agregamos que pudieras estar involucrando tu estatus de inmigración, claro que debe ser una temporada muy difícil para ti, pero queremos estar aquí para apoyarte, queremos resolver tus dudas y por eso queremos, primero que nada, recomendarte que no tomes una decisión si estás, si estás cansada, si estás cansado, si estás alterado, si estás alterada, porque digo, es más fácil decirlo que hacerlo, pero es importante que tomes una decisión calmada para que no tengas arrepentimientos cuando mires para atrás y te des cuenta que tomaste una decisión solo porque estabas afectado o afectada en ese momento. Entonces, número uno, no tomes una decisión en un estado emocional.
Yes. You know, I think number two is don't talk to people to vent, because even if your situation, like it's so hard to make a decision. And if you're going to call friends, if you're going to call your parents and you're going to talk to them to vent, then you're just going to add fuel to the fire. You cannot make good decisions when you're in a place of venting. If, however, you want to call and you're asking for someone to say objectively, this is what I recommend you do, then you need to talk to a professional, because your friends are not objective. Your parents are not objective. Your kids definitely are not objective. And you need someone who's on the outside, who's a professional. Marriage counselor, sometimes people who work in a church could be a really good person to talk to. You have to be careful though, because the church frowns upon divorce so much that sometimes in this day and age, it's hard to know if they're really giving objective advice or advice from a religious perspective. So that's, you know, really going to be up to you as a human, like kind of what your values are. And then last but not least, in terms of getting professional advice, if your immigration status hangs in the balance, you do not want to trust just Google. You don't want to trust just this video. This is not, I'm not talking to you. You know, I want to sit down and sit across from you at my desk, and I want to be the professional who talks to you, not about all these different types of things. So I think that number two is don't vent, talk to a professional.
Así es, y la número dos es no te desahogues, no te desahogues en ese sentido emocional. No llames a tus amigos, no llames a tus padres, sobre todo no hables con tus hijos, porque estás en un estado emocional y el quejarte, el desahogarte a veces añade gasolina al fuego. Entonces, nuestra recomendación es, por favor, habla con un profesional, un consejero de matrimonio. Si quizá asistes a alguna iglesia, alguna persona, un consejero que te pueda darte un consejo fuera de esa situación, porque tus padres y tus amigos obviamente te quieren, van a querer cuidar de ti, pero no van a ser objetivos. Entonces, busca ese consejo profesional y específicamente si tu proceso de inmigración, si tu estado de inmigración está en peligro, definitivamente quieres hablar con un abogado experto, porque ahorita no estamos hablando contigo, estamos dando información Queremos sentarnos contigo, escuchar tu historia, tus prioridades, que sí, que no, y darte un consejo experto. Entonces, número 2, habla con un experto, no te desahogues, no añadas gasolina al fuego.
Well, and I think in Arizona it's important that it's un profesional, no experto, porque la palabra experto en Arizona is muy específicamente. I don't know if I'm saying
¿Ok?
that right.
Muy específica, sí.
Yes. Okay. So perfect. The third thing, and this just is what it is. If you are someone who has a 2-year green card and you're not sure if your spouse is gonna help you go to the next step, and you're not sure if you want your spouse to be involved in the next step, it's really important that if you used an attorney together to get your green card to begin with, you need to go talk to a separate attorney about whether you should file the I-751 by yourself or with your spouse. And here's why you have to talk to a separate attorney, is because if the first attorney, let's make up some names, attorney A, help you and your spouse get your 2-year green card. That attorney represented your spouse and you in that petition. And so if you're going, now they're conflicted because they're the attorney for your spouse forever and ever, just like they're the attorney for you forever and ever. So you need to come over and talk to attorney B to get objective advice about whether or not you should file an I-751 with your spouse or by yourself.
Ok, entonces tenemos este tercer consejo. Si el abogado A te ayudó a ti y a tu esposo a obtener tu residencia de 2 años, él en teoría los estaba representando a los dos. Estaba representando a ti y lo estaba representando a él y los va a seguir representando. ¿Por qué? Entonces es importante que busques un abogado B, porque ahí ya hay un conflicto entre tú y tu pareja, si a lo mejor no sabes si él o ella te va a ayudar a obtener la residencia permanente o estás queriendo saber, es importante que recibas el consejo de alguien que te dé un consejo objetivo que no está representando a tu esposo. Entonces, nuestra tercera recomendación es busca una segunda opinión, es tu derecho y lo más importante va a ser una opinión objetiva sobre si debes hacer tu petición I-751 con o sin tu esposo. Eso también es posible para la gente que no lo sabe. Se puede hacer un proceso I-751 sin tu esposo, pero es importante que consultes a un profesional.
Yes. And at the end of the day, if you've experienced extreme cruelty from your spouse, even if you stay married, the process of it's under the umbrella of VAWA. It's in the same vein as VAWA, even if we don't use the actual statute called VAWA. You can apply for your I-751 on your own, even if you're still married to your spouse. You know, you have this, it may not be the right path for you, but what I want you to know is you have rights. You have rights. Even if you have just a 2-year green card, my friend, you have rights. No one can take those from you. These are your rights that our country has given to you.
Así es, entonces, y lo importante de esto es hablar con un profesional, porque aunque no está bajo la forma de VAWA, está en el espectro de VAWA, es la misma vía y es importante que sepas tus derechos. No importa que tu residencia sea condicional, tienes derecho, nadie los puede quitar y es parte de eso hacer tu proceso de I-751 sin tu pareja. Incluso si a lo mejor van a por el momento quedarse casados, todavía tienes la opción de hacerlo por tu lado. Lo mejor es que un abogado profesional, alguien de tu confianza, revise tu caso, que es único, y te aconseje de manera objetiva para que puedas tomar este paso y sobre todo saber tus derechos. Tú que me estás viendo, tienes derechos, no importa si tu residencia es condicional o permanente y es importante que los sepas y que los defiendas.
Yes. Have a wonderful day. It's your week. It's your Monday. It's your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's your year. This is your month. It's all yours. And like, we are the author and the director and the star of this show called Our Life. And so I want you to know that this is your day. And whatever it is that's going on in your life, we are here for you. And if you need anything, send me a message and I will answer. Have a wonderful day.
Así es, entonces ten tu lunes excelente, un martes, un miércoles, un jueves. Esta es tu semana, este es tu mes, este es tu año. Verdaderamente lo deseamos para ti. Estamos aquí para ayudarte. Si tienes alguna duda, si te acabas de enterar de alguna información, mándanos un mensaje o compártele este video a alguien que sepas que puede encontrarse en esta situación. Creemos en ti, te deseamos lo mejor. Eres el autor, el director y el actor de este show que es tu vida. Tienes derecho, queremos que los defiendas y Nueva Frontera está aquí para ayudarte a vivir